Supposedly my mic is on. Get into it, yeah. Oh. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get ourselves started. Let's talk a little bit about Never Exhale, your second full length LP out January 24th. Just released your second single, Taxi Man, on November 12th. Cal, you described the record as the natural progression from The Great Regression. Could you expand a little bit on that? What's changed, what's progressed as compared to The Great Regression?
I think it's to do with the first one. We sort of we had all the time in the world to do it, and as a result of the first one, we've ended up touring quite a lot. Because of where we were at when we did The Great Regression, we had all this time on our hands, and it was kind of exactly like it was made exactly where we were at that time, which was locked down basically. And now with the second record, we haven't had time because thanks to the first record, we've been touring quite a lot. So most of the songs were written while we've been on the road, and most of them have been rehearsed in practice rooms that we're borrowing off other people, or like it really all over. Like it's been made everywhere, and I think the natural progression is, as a result of the first one, this is how we've had to do this second one. So to me, that's what makes it feel like a natural progression.
And do you think that opportunity to record and create in so many different places has opened up the thematic worldview of this record as compared to The Great Regression?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely had an impact on the types of sounds that we were using, depending on sort of what equipment we had at the time, because we weren't taking everything we had with us on every tour or to every show. So when we end up in places like we've got a day off, we're having a practice day, it would be what we had to at our disposal at that time. And then also different rooms as well, I think, impact the way you write as well. I think I always find in a smaller room, when you start going quite hard, the vocals will get buried. So I noticed that there's really subtle things. I'll notice that we'll have on some songs, I can tell where we were when we did that one, because it'll have an instrumental passage that's quite that's heavy and large, because we were in a small room when we were writing it, and I tried to do some singing and you couldn't hear it. So that might be where that's come from, or maybe I was discouraged from doing. And there's some of the more sparse ones have been done in rooms like that as well. Yeah, it's interesting to think about it like that, but there's a few different ways that all the travel will have impacted different bits. Maybe we were tired one day, we wrote something lazier,
Yeah, I think that we had a lot of times when we'd be playing. Well, with the first album, we wouldn't play as many shows, and we didn't know how it was going to go down live. And then when we're playing that many shows, and we're thinking, oh, what bits feel better amongst the audience, and what bits feel better, what do we like playing more live? And I think that came into it as well, what sort of reaction you're going to get from people to different tempos or different bits that we do. So maybe there's more or less of certain things because, you know, we were away a lot doing gigs, and we, you know, some are better than others, and I think, you know, that's dependent on sometimes loads of different things, but like, you know, I think that comes into it. Like there's a bit more dancey element to the new album, and maybe there was on the last album, but just not as much. So we sort of prefer the dancier things.
Yeah, maybe it's because we enjoyed those songs more. Like, you know, Dead Versed off the first album is really the only one that does anything like that. And then
exactly. Yeah, there's one, and then I think because again that, you know, that's probably one that we've always played live because we thought, yeah, that one always goes well. Like no matter what the gig is, it'll always get everyone like dancing because it's just full to the floor rhythm, and I think we've got more of that in the new album because we like it and it's fun.
Yeah.
In a similar vein, actually, it's funny that you bring that up. Earlier in the year, in October, you told DIY that following the either conception, half-bit rehearsal of a couple songs in these rehearsal rooms, you would take a few of those songs and play them the next night. Now, when y'all were putting together the record, was that first consideration, how is this going to sound live, or was that just, you think that's just a natural part of the songwriting process for y'all?
I think very natural because we're a live band. Like that's what we do the most of. I think
that's always it's always the test, isn't it? Like that's the bit. Like we'll come up with something. Someone will come up with something, a member of the band, and we'll all be like, yeah, we're keen on this. We like this, and then we'll get it together in a rehearsal space. But then, yeah, that is the ultimate test. It's like, can we do it live? And we test it, and if it's shit, we're like, you know, we have to go back and then, you know, work on bits and then do different bits in different ways, and you know, go off different cues off people. But I think that is the ultimate test. Is, yeah, will it work live? And we definitely went straight out of the practice space and played some live over the last couple of years, definitely just to see what would happen. And people have probably seen us in certain places where we've played versions of songs that are completely different to how they are now. But again, it's the test, I think. Yeah
I like it's that difference between like the sort of bedroom demo and then actually what a band plays is huge. No matter how good you are at making the, you know, how good you are at Logic or Ableton, like there's like, I remember there was one track I had like sort of a bulk of a track. It sounded quite cool on the demo, but I remember it was when we did Riverstone, we ended up, which was a single we did in 2023 that was just sort of standalone, but I did this demo and then we went to play it in the room and everybody sort of got the parts, and then we were just listening to it and it just had nothing. Like it really didn't have, you know, that it didn't sound like a good live track. Mm-hmm. And then immediately about 10 minutes afterwards we started writing Riverstone, and that's how we got that. It's just like I just think there's a huge difference between, I don't know, you hear it a lot in like in sort of, you scroll through Instagram and just see loads of bands that aren't really live ready, trying to like making all those reels and stuff, trying to promote themselves, and they haven't got the thing yet. They've got such a like loose idea of what they want to get big and then worry about the other bits later and stuff like that. But I think it's important to write songs that are good to play live.
Do you think that that's in this great digital age? Do you think that that's a bigger issue and a bigger underlying issue that lots of bands, especially like Instagram Reel bands or bands that maybe quite haven't figured their thing out, that they forget that live experience is half of that, I guess, human experience of music?
I mean, absolutely. I think it's one of the number one issues with music these days is like people don't see like these are the same kinds of people as well that I think they don't go to watch other bands. I go and watch bands, you know, every week. I'll go and watch some bands, and I really think there's a sort of like lack of connection with those Instagram reels or TikTok bands. There's a real sort of lack of connection to any sort of scene or idea of music as community. It's a tool to make them famous, and they don't really understand that, you know, that's not it. When people were banging bones on stuff to make the first music, it was probably a party for everyone. Like, that's probably what they would. And I just feel like a lot of those bands totally miss the point of music in general.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, there's definitely those sort of digital online bands that don't really want to do gigs, and yeah, it's fair enough. But yeah, I think certainly, yeah, from my perspective, it's all about the live performance, and yeah, that is what music is all about for me anyway. And I'll probably speak for all of us when I say that. Like, it's the live element is like the most important.
Yeah, I mean, recorded music's only existed for 100 years. People have been going to watch music in some form or another since, you know.
Yeah,
always, yeah.
Well, before even it was recorded, people would have been doing that.
Y'all told Northeast Volume in 2022 that a lot of the rage from the first record stemmed from, and I quote, "shit jobs, stuck inside, no hope, etc." And I now view that as a quote that I think could serve as the tagline for the album, and that era in the band's, I guess, now growing mythology. Would you consider that to still be the tagline for maybe this next chapter of the band, or do you think that there's a new deep, I guess, area that the rage on this album stems from? If I'm totally misperceiving the rage on that, you can absolutely tell me as well. But
we're all a lot older now than when we when we wrote that. But there's a lot of those similar themes. But I think, you know,
the jobs have changed, but we still hate doing them, and we've still got to do it to be able to do this.
Yeah.
So,
I stop now. To be honest, I think it's way better. Before, I really hated it, but now I'm not. You know, I quite like going to work sometimes. It's better than sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah, and yeah.
Kind of playing off of that, now that the jobs have changed. Speaking of which, y'all have been touring for the better part of the last year, and you've already announced a brand new slew of European UK dates. Is that maybe a little ill-advised, do we think, or is it ironic that we talk about shit jobs and we're already getting ready to get back on the job?
Well,
I mean, that's not what we mean by shit jobs, in the sense of like what we're doing when we're not out gigging, but that's the fun part. I mean, but yeah, the not fun part is, you know, telling your employer that you've got to
disappear for 6 months.
yeah, and there's, you know, they're like, what are you doing? You're like, oh well, I'm in multiple different countries playing gigs, and they're like, oh well, I'm sure that sounds very nice. Well, you know, fuck you, and we'll be fine on our own, sort of thing. But no, we've all changed our jobs so that they'll, to people that will be like, yeah, I'm kind of alright with that, and, you know, more 0 hour stuff that you can work round. So I feel like we're all in a bit of a better position, maybe. I mean, Caleb still works at a pub, the pub.
A better pub than he did at the time.
Way better. Yeah.
Not the same pub he was living above. This is now across the
same one. The very same. The very same.
He doesn't live anymore, though. That's good.
Yeah. You can separate the two. Work
Absolutely.
and home.
Especially if he knows that he works there. I think that was probably quite uncomfortable. everybody knew that he worked and lived above that pub. So he was quite easy.
Yeah.
Well, you start getting lots of 80s style, throwing rocks at the windows, playing Riverstone outside his window. Switch gears just a little bit. Let's talk a little about meat and potatoes, man. I'd love to hear a little bit more about God on a Speed Dial. It is not to give away too much for the audience. This will be out a little bit before the album comes out, but not to give away too much. It is absolutely my favorite song on the album, and I was hoping you could take us a little bit further into how that one came about and a little more how it came together.
That one was one. Me and Jack had the sort of genesis of it in we had a rehearsal space for a while in Kemp Town in Brighton, but it was quite a good little spot because it had a desk in it, and you could plug your laptop in and record stuff straight away. This is a good example of the opposite of what I was saying about the demos, because Jack did record it with drums, and we had this, like, Jack had this riff, like, sounded like Justice or something like that, and that's what I thought for it. It sounds like that Stress song. I don't know, he came up with a sort of loop, and I had lyrics for it, but I'd had them for ages, and it just happened to be the first spot where it went.
It's annoying that it's annoying that Jack's not on this call, because he would probably have to say a lot about it as well. But yeah, I in terms of this song, I didn't have much to do with the initial writing process. It was one of the ones that was, you guys come up with it at the studio, and then it was sort of like brought to us as a band, and then we all made it what it was.
It got different because it never had the sort of, like it's almost like a sort of beat down section, isn't it? Like,
and it also we cut a bit on it, didn't we? Because it was just leave it shorter. We thought it would be better.
No, it was doing the same thing. Like, it sort of looped back onto that verse originally again. I think we just needed to. One of those ones we need to call it. It's a really good one to play live. I really like playing it live because it's.
I love it.
It's quite a unique groove, really, like that. I know the bass is so good as well. It's proper. It's a proper dirgy track.
But it's dancey as well, and it's like it's. Yeah, I'm. Do you know what? Yeah, it is one of my more favourite ones of the album. I don't know if it's my favourite, but yeah, I like that track.
I like playing that one a lot. I think what it is like all those tom bits. That's something on the first album that you do really well, Sam. It's like the bits like in clocks and stuff like that. I think like whenever you're switching from like snare hits onto the tom, I don't know, you kind of keep the same intensity on it, and I think that's why writing bits like that for you makes loads of sense, because it's just, I don't know, you can sort of keep something it doesn't like have a sort of like, it doesn't ebb and flow too much. You can keep it solid where it's like a tire, like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, do you know what? I took inspiration from Talking Heads in the dancey bit of that song, just because it was a bit more busy than what it was, but I simplified it in terms of drums, made it way more simple, and added a little cheeky tom bits, and that was all from because I was listening to Talking Heads just when I was cycling to the studio then. So yeah, that was Talking Heads inspired, definitely. Huh?
Which Talking Heads tune is it?
It's.
Which album is it?
I was listening to.
Is it Remain in Light? Is it that one? Because it's that first. Cool. That's some bits in it.
I couldn't put a finger on what track it was, but I feel like they do it quite a bit. I don't even know the name for the Talking Heads drummer, I'm going to be honest. Well, yeah, and it's just not no track in particular. I'm just gonna say now, but basically, it's just they're sort of what they do with their rhythms. It's very dancey, but it's simple, isn't it? And they do.
Do you know what it is? It's on all those Talking Heads records. It's because they were all listening to Fela Kuti, isn't it? They were listening to Tony Allen drumming, and that's when you listen to those like Fela Kuti records where Tony Allen's drumming. It is just Talking Heads without the guitars, basically, and you know that's they rob that wholesale as well. That's why it's all right for us to rob it as well.
Moving a little bit further down the track, let's talk a little bit about Britney. It's big noise, it swells, it explodes, it collapses. It is a absolute ridiculous send-off for the end of an album, which is also very interesting, especially in this, again, great digital age where we've moved more of a big single, 2 singles, hope that one picks off model. In this recent return to that more traditional album-centric model in music marketing and the rollout, do you think we're going to begin to see more of those, I guess, album-exclusive, not as radio-friendly, big-time, multi-act Stairway to Heaven songs? Do you think we're going to start to see more of those as prog rock and metal and hardcore and all these more, I guess, niche genres start to really get the spotlight that they're deserving?
Oh, I think, from my perspective, when I listen to music, I'm always listening to albums. I don't really listen. I'll check people's singles out when they come out, you know. But beyond that, if I'm doing a session of listening to music, I'm putting the album on and I'm going to listen to the whole thing anyway, regardless. So I've never really pictured making albums any different from that. And to be honest, I don't think that kind of thing ever left. I mean, you just look at like, you flick through the Needle Drop channel. There's like, you know, everything on there. Everything there is an album, isn't it? Like, it's not like, you know, it's not like that kind of thing ever went away, because Beyonce was still making albums, you know, like, and you know, just because you see that one thing and that one model and that sort of is successful for a few different types of music doesn't really, like, you know, make me think that's the whole picture, you know? Like, I don't think the album ever went away. I think it's the best way to listen to music, for sure. Like,
yeah, and I think if it did for any reason, and it has, then yeah, I hope it's a new rebirth of people making, you know, long weird songs, because I love that shit, and like, you know, more deep ones, or longer ones, or just different to. I love it when bands do that sort of thing, and again, that's probably exactly what we were going for in this tune. And there's some, you know, like it's something. I guess when you listen to it, you think it's so much different to the rest of the album. Like I don't know, it's one of those ones where you're like, oh, it is a clear end to the album, but it's like, compared to the other songs, it's a lot different, you know.
Yeah, I think it's like, we tried, like, it's a song of 2 parts, and we've tried 2 things that we haven't tried before in each one of those parts, you know. Like, that's what kind of sets it apart. And to be honest, I stuck it in the middle of the album somewhere. It would have, it might have stuck out a bit more, like a sore thumb. But yeah, I'm hoping that we get to do some more of that type of thing. We've just started playing it live as well.
Only just, and like
it's heavy, isn't it? Like, there's a lot of thinking involved in sort of trying to recreate some of the sounds that aren't just straight away available on a guitar or a drum kit. Like, we had to get the SPD out for those drums at the start, and
on the sample pad, and and it's like, that's one that we were like, Oh, it's definitely at the end of the set. It's definitely like a closer. And then we played it as a closer, and then we were like, actually, nah. I think we should maybe put it more like more towards the middle of the set, or
And we did that.
yeah.
We did at our last show. We put it in the middle. I think it was great there. Like, I think it really sort of. I think that's where it fit. It's interesting. That's the difference between an album and a live show as well. But yeah,
And that's it. It feels like It feels like so long when you listen to it, but playing it live, it feels like it goes away in like 5 minutes. Like, well, I don't know. Less as in like it just feels so quick live, but then
To say the difference between 7 minutes and 5 minutes really not all that big, is it?
true.
be fair.
That's about all I had for you today. I got one more question for you. It's my personal favorite, something I ask all our guests here on the show, and that is, what are y'all listening to right now? And you can't say it yourselves. That's a cop-out answer. What are you actually listening to?
I'll go on my Spotify now. I'll tell you what I have listened to very recently.
And there he goes. We're going to superimpose like something like, if you have a ridiculous tour pick, send that to me. We're going to put it right there on him.
All right.
Okay, I've been listening to. Oh, where am I there? Right.
Yes, you are.
I've been listening to Dolce's new album, Alligator Bites Never Heal. It's sick. I discovered her through Schoolboy Q's like recommended artist earlier in the summer. Fucking banger of an album. Listened to Schoolboy Q's new album, Blue Lips, and I was listening to Ice-T. I was also listening to Dre and Snoop Dogg's new album. That's pretty cool. It's like there's like a big band and stuff in it. And who else? I was listening to Tendrils. Oldie James as well. Yeah, so a lot of hip hop, to be fair. Been session all that.
Pretty eclectic hip hop too. That's neat.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Also to shout out a band that I really like and listen to all the time that are an indie band, Lime Garden from the UK, from Brighton as well. Yeah, they're like really, really, really good indie band. But that wasn't on my Spotify, but like I need to mention them because I really like them.
On my past couple of days, I've been listening to. We played with a band. We played with the band on the weekend, actually.
Who was it?
His band called Machina.
Yeah.
I listened to their album a few times since then. It's great. It's really, really cool. Like, it's kind of like dance music made with guitars. Really cool bass tone. Yeah, that was good. What else I listened to? I've been on a couple of planes. I listened to. Did you know the band Antioch Arrow, 90s band? Their last album, they were kind of like a screamo band, but it sounds like they did like one goth rock record. I listened to that yesterday. Listened to the 2020 Cindy Lee album. Can't remember what that's called. That's a great album. I think I listened to Locust Abortion Technician by Butthole Surfers yesterday. Love that album.
I've been listening to Wes Montgomery. We've been listening to Wes Montgomery in the van.
Yeah, to be fair, you have.
Sick jazz guitarist, Wes Montgomery. Yeah, there's so many albums and it's all worth listening to. Love it.
Oh, Wes Montgomery. We're more of a Corey Wong house, but we appreciate Wes Montgomery.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, that is amazing, y'all. Well, thank you so much again. Like I said, quick, painless, no curveballs. We sure hope you had a great time with us. We had a great time having you on. Again, on behalf of myself and Tonitruale, thanks again for stopping by.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it, man.